Can you actually reverse the aging process? Well, according to Bryan Johnson, you absolutely can. So in today's video, we're gonna break down his methods, his protocols, his blueprint program, and I'm gonna just give you my brutally honest take on whether or not you should be listening to this biohacker. What's up guys, Josiah Novak, thetruetransformation.com. Today, we were talking about Bryan Johnson. He is the former founder of a company called Braintree. He made a boat ton of money, and now he's making a boat ton more talking about fitness, which I want to break down and discuss with you. So if you don't know who I am, I've also been in the fitness industry for quite some time. Maybe you could call me a biohacker. Probably not. You probably just call me a guy who likes to help people. And I've been doing it for the better part of 20 years. Became a trainer 2004, started this online hybrid fitness thing where we coach in person and online. Did that now for the better part of the past 12 years. And you're here on my channel or you're listening on the podcast, which I appreciate. So if you want more from me, listen to these videos, watch these videos, download the link in the description. It's our 3M action guide. Let's talk about this Bryan Johnson guy, right? So first of all, I didn't know a whole lot about Bryan Johnson, but he started to recently come across my radar because I'm a guy getting older. And so I've probably in some area of Instagram or YouTube or whatever, I've searched for anti-aging tips and hacks for not only myself, but for our clients. So this guy, Bryan, has started to pop up a lot because a lot of his content is about avoiding health issues as you get older, which I absolutely love. So I started digging into who he was and come to find out, I mean, this guy has rapidly gained popularity in the health and fitness space. He's become this almost like a superhero type of guy where he's doing all these things to age at a pace that's way slower than the average guy, right? So he has this whole protocol, and we're gonna break down every single part today, a lot of which I agree with, and some things I just flat out disagree with. But at the end of the day, and I'm happy to discuss, I'm happy to debate, his whole thing really does revolve around supplementation. And he started this whole supplement company. And so he is selling products. And I'm not against that. First of all, I love capitalism, think it's amazing. Sell your stuff. If it works and it helps people, I'm always gonna give you 2 thumbs up. So I'm not here to knock his products. I'm not here to tell you that he's full of crap. I'm just here to have a healthy discussion. So where did Bryan Johnson actually come from? He made about 800 million bucks exiting his company called Braintree. He sold his company back in, I think it was 2013, to PayPal for a huge sum. So the guy has done really well for himself. And anybody who's an entrepreneur like me knows that that takes an enormous amount of work. And so props to him for that. Well, now he has kind of blasted his way into the fitness space, and he's using himself, which I love, by the way, as an example for how to fight the aging process. So he has this whole protocol. And a big part of it obviously revolves around nutrition. And so a lot of his supplementation and the products that he sells revolve around making sure you're getting enough vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, not just from the food that you eat, but from supplementation. So let's pull up his protocols and let's start talking about what is this guy actually about, right? So we're gonna break things down today in 3 main areas: diet, training, supplementation, and then just his general take on recovery, sleep, and all the things that go into making sure that you're a healthy human being. So the first thing when it comes to diet, and I think that this is probably one of the areas where I absolutely agree with him, and I'm gonna reference some scientific studies too as we go through this, but one of the things he strongly recommends is a healthy level of calorie restriction. So let's take a step back just for a second. There's these areas around the country, around the world actually, called blue zones. And blue zones are where people live just a really long time on average in comparison to other parts of the world. And in these areas, there's specific habits that a lot of people have. And one of them, as I've dug into these blue zones, and you can also check out the Blue Zone documentary on Netflix, because it's a really good educational show. One of the things that a lot of these cultures and areas around the world believe in is a calorie-restrictive diet, right? Meaning a lot of the time being in a calorie deficit, not an extreme calorie deficit, right? We're not talking a full-blown, crazy fat loss phase where you're eating 1,000 calories below what it takes to maintain your weight. we're talking like just a couple hundred calories below maintenance. So it's interesting because what I think science would say and what the studies will show is that eating slightly below maintenance just puts a little less stress on your body, right? So you're never really pushing your digestive system to its max capacity. You're putting your body in a state where it is utilizing body fat on a regular basis to fuel your day-to-day. And this can lead to more longevity. It's obviously not the only thing, right? There's so many factors. Number one being genetics, I think, and just where you come from and the family history that you have. But eating below your maintenance is one of the things that Bryan Johnson talks about. So he consumes around 2,000 calories a day. And that's like kind of in the ballpark for what most, scientists and nutrition experts say is kind of like the average amount of calories that a lot of guys need, right? It's like that 2,000 calorie a day diet. So most of his days, he ends up being around that mark. His nutrition is centered around nutrient-dense foods, which I absolutely 100% agree with. In today's world, especially in the Western culture, we have this fascination with highly processed, high caloric foods, not so much nutrient-dense foods, right? So we're taking in, whatever's convenient, whatever we can just throw in the microwave, whatever we can heat up. It's not getting us all we need from a nutrient perspective. We're getting calories, but are we actually getting powerhouse calories, like things that are going to fuel you from a vitamin mineral standpoint? And the answer is typically no in most of our diets, right? So keeping his calorie intake on the lower end, I'm typically a fan of just for, day to day. One thing I would suggest though, and one thing I kind of would, discuss with him or have a healthy argument with him on is performance. When I see his body, like Bryan Johnson's body, I don't see a lot of muscle on the guy. I mean, he's not, lacking muscle entirely, but he's a pretty skinny guy. And sure, that could contribute to more longevity because having a ton of muscle isn't necessarily the healthiest thing for your heart. Your heart has to work harder when you carry a lot of muscle. But I don't look at Bryan and go, man, that guy is a specimen, right? He almost looks like he's a little bit underfed. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I want to build, a physique that can actually do things, right? I can be athletic. I can go out and run. I can go out and do a high rocks. I look good with my shirt off and I also perform well in my day-to-day. The big thing here is, nutrition. Are you fueling your body to go out and do things that require a lot of effort? If you're always in a caloric deficit, that's not great for performance. You need to be eating more to fuel your training. So this is always going to be dependent on your individual goals. If you're just worried about losing fat and you're like, hey, I just, I want to live a long time, want to lose fat, then eating in a caloric deficit is key. But as you start to expand your horizons and you want to do more with your body, you're going to need to eat more. I've learned this lesson the hard way so many times. I've tried to be, restrictive when it comes to my calories, go out and do some tough fitness challenges and really suffer because my body just doesn't have the fuel it needs to perform. And by the way, you start training a lot, you start doing a lot of things with your body, running, doing hybrid style fitness workouts, that kind of stuff. You can get hurt if you're not fueling your body properly. If you're not getting enough carbs, enough fats, enough protein to recover, you can run into some big issues. This is where injuries tend to rear their ugly head. You just don't realize it's coming from being underfed. You think, oh, it's because my joints, my tendons aren't strong enough, or I'm just not cut out to be an athlete. Sometimes it's just the fact that you're not fueling yourself properly. So 2,000 calories a day, first of all, that's way too cookie cutter of a number. Not everybody needs 2,000. If I only ate 2,000 calories a day, I would be rapidly dropping weight and I wouldn't be able to perform. For me to be in a slight calorie deficit, I probably need to be closer to like 2,800 calories a day. So it's important for you to not just follow blindly some random caloric number. Not to say 2,000 is way off the mark for a lot of you, but I just think that's way too cookie cutter of a number. So the next thing is his majority of his diet is plant-based foods, right? So he eats mostly vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and legumes, which of course, from a vitamin and mineral standpoint are great. Like they're healthy foods, high in fiber. I wouldn't tell you to eliminate those foods, but his nutrition plan really doesn't include a very high amount of protein. And this is where I strongly disagree with his approach. First of all, number one factor when it comes to nutrition is can you see yourself eating a certain way for the rest of your life? Now, I understand if there's a gun to your head and you're like, if you don't eat this way, you're gonna die, right? If you had a really serious health issue and you had to follow a very specific diet, my guess is that the pain that you'd potentially be suffering would drive you to follow that diet religiously. But if you're just an average person who's like, hey, I wanna lose my gut, I wanna be healthy, I wanna build muscle, most of the time you're gonna need to eat more protein. Now, here's the big key, and I think what Bryan is probably trying to do is help you avoid eating low quality protein sources, right? Because it's hard these days to trust where you're getting your food, right? Because at the end of the day, cost of goods has gone up, inflation's gone up, so everything's more expensive. So companies are trying to cut costs. They're trying to mass produce meat, fish, poultry, all these things that we consume. And so the quality of our protein has gone down, right? And so that's something to really be aware of. Now, if you're able to get high quality sources of protein from grass-fed sources, straight from farms, farm to table type of stuff, then you're well ahead of most people in what they have available. But at the end of the day, it's hard to know where the quality level is when you start eating a lot of these protein sources. So let me back up one more step here. Protein consumption is also going to be regulated by what your training looks like, right? If you're someone who just trains very low frequency rates, right? Like you're twice a week in the gym or maybe 3 times in the gym, you don't need to go crazy with protein. The recommendations out there from like bodybuilders and these like crazy supplement companies who are trying to sell you protein powder, they're telling you to eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight per day or more. That's probably overkill for a lot of you. In fact, I don't even think I average a gram of protein per pound of body weight anymore. I used to way back in the day when I thought the more protein, the better. But I still average about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight per day, which is a heck of a lot more than what Bryan Johnson eats in his diet. In fact, his protein consumption seems to be closer to like 0.4, 0.5 grams of protein per day per pound of body weight. Not to mention, he's not really getting any complete amino acid sources in his diet. Sure, if you combined all the vegetables he's eating and all the different sources of food he's getting in, the amino acid profile probably looks pretty good, but it's just not enough complete protein. So a complete protein has all the essential amino acids required to repair and build new muscle tissue. So you're gonna get those pretty easily from sources, animal source protein, beef, chicken, eggs, that kind of stuff. They have a complete amino acid profile. But when you just eat broccoli or cauliflower or beans, are you getting protein? Absolutely. You're just not getting all the amino acids. You combine them all together, you might get some complete proteins, but it's just really hard. So this is probably why Bryan doesn't carry a lot of muscle mass, because even though he does train, we'll talk about his training in a minute, he's just not building a lot of muscle because he doesn't take in a lot of protein. Now, I'm open to discussion here. It might be by design. It might be because he's like, hey, having a lot of muscle is just not going to contribute to the anti-aging goal that I have. I want to age much slower than the average person. I want to live a long time. So I'm willing to sacrifice having a muscular physique to get a few years added to the end of my life. And you might be in the same boat. What I would tell you though is quality of my life also matters. My confidence level matters. How I present myself matters. If I'm going to live to 100 but feel really lacking in my confidence in my body department for most of my life versus live to 90 but just be absolutely happy and full of fulfillment and abundance my entire life, I don't know. That's a tough decision, I guess. I'd probably take the 90 and live a very abundant, fun, and enjoyable life, feeling really great about myself and being a good example for others versus feeling really, run down, skinny, and not be athletic for most of my life. It's a trade-off that you have to decide. I can't make that decision for you, but it sounds like Bryan's made that decision pretty clearly. And he's more focused on a very specific goal, which is slowing down the aging process. So overall, his specific food choices revolve around vegetables. Great, I completely agree with that. Fruits, obviously love that. High in antioxidants, berries, healthy fats, avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil. He does have a lot of olive oil, by the way, in his diet. I mean, he even sells olive oil. It's called snake oil. That's actually the name of his olive oil. Great branding, by the way. Bryan, I love your branding. You're a phenomenal marketer. Do you need to buy his specific olive oil as he says because it's the highest grade, perfect quality? No. Let's just be honest. He's a great marketer, okay? So I'm not saying don't buy his products. Buy them, support his brand if you believe in what he's saying. I'm all for it. Once again, capitalism, love it. But at the end of the day, we're packaging things differently. Sometimes the product within the package is the same, just as an FYI. So, and then protein. So most of his protein, in fact, it seems like all of his protein is plant-based protein. I have a whole family of vegans, actually. So all my sisters in my family are vegan. And they do it for more moral reasons than anything else. They just don't believe in eating animals. And that's something I completely support. I don't say I agree with it, but I do support it. I prefer to eat animal sources of protein. Number one, because I actually enjoy it. Like, that's the most important thing. You know, I enjoy eating a steak. I enjoy eating burgers. I enjoy chicken. I enjoy fish. And I think when it comes to our dietary choices, yes, we want to eat healthy food as much as possible. I enjoy pizza just as much as the next guy, if not more. Doesn't mean I eat pizza all the time. But if there are healthy foods that you enjoy, like meat and chicken and fish, it's totally okay to include those in your diet, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's all about the amounts we consume. So if we're just going crazy and eating, 4 steaks a day and, just blasting our cholesterol, yeah, it's probably not a good thing. But having a steak here and there, having some chicken, some fish, and eggs in your diet, if you're, someone who enjoys animal-based proteins, the science around it says you're probably just fine. Just try your best to get quality sources of protein. The other 2 things that I love about Bryan's protocol is he does include intermittent fasting in his day-to-day. So he doesn't eat around the clock like most people in the Western culture. We wake up, we grab something quick for breakfast, usually combined with high-calorie coffees. Then we grab a snack. Maybe we skip lunch because we're too busy, but then we get super hungry in the afternoon and we eat something unhealthy like chips or a candy bar. And then on the way home, we stop and we grab something, not necessarily healthy from the convenience store. Then we go home and have like a really high calorie dinner followed by a dessert. And then we get those late night cravings and we snack on something that's around the house that maybe we bought for our kids, but we really shouldn't even have in the house. That's just like all around the clock eating schedule. We need to control our meal times a lot better. What this does is it helps us control our appetite. And appetite control, when you're trying to lose body fat, is one of the biggest pillars that you can master. Because if you're always hungry and you're in a deficit, man, you're going to really struggle to lose fat. So I love that Bryan talks about intermittent fasting because it's not a magical tool. It's just making sure your meal schedule is dialed in, right? Because the rhythm of your day really starts to matter. Momentum is a big deal. When you can get into the habit of knowing, hey, I'm going to feel hungry 2 or 3 times a day, and that's when I eat. That's a really good rhythm to be in versus being hungry randomly or all the time and you're in a deficit. Like, you're going to go crazy and it's going to be really hard to stick to your nutrition plan. So I love the fasting, love the meal timing, and he tries to make sure that he gets in really good rhythm. So really, really agree with that. Let's talk about supplements. So before I get into the supplement discussion, if you need a game plan, if you need a roadmap to start transforming your life, right? If you want to redesign how you live, how you do things over the course of the next 40, 50 years, check out our 3M action plan. You can check it out for free. Go to the link below the description of the video. There's a link. You can download the guide right now. You can start today at no cost. Go download it. I give you 3 very simple and actionable steps that you can take today to start dropping the gut, building more muscle, and ultimately feeling so much better. So go check that out right now. Okay, so before we get into the supplement discussion, one of the things that Bryan recommends is regular testing. So he undergoes frequent blood tests and other diagnostic measures to monitor nutrient levels and adjust his diet and supplement regimen accordingly. Absolutely love this. So I recently partnered with a company called Manly, MNLY. Great name, even better product. And what Manly does is they send me an at-home blood work test once every few months. I prick my finger, drop some blood on a little card, send it back, and their lab tells me what I'm deficient in, right? So once they know my deficiencies, they send me a customized supplement regimen with pills that I take 3 times a day. So I have my morning pack, my midday pack, and my evening pack. And they're built for me. So they're only giving me specifically what my body needs based off what I'm deficient in. So clearly I agree with Bryan's take on making sure you know what your body needs individually. You don't need to follow, a cookie cutter approach anymore when it comes to vitamins and minerals. You can actually find customization and convenience combined into one. I've chosen Manly to be one of our partners at our company, True Transformation, because it's convenient and it's very, very effective. Now, the other thing too is most guys go through a big chunk of life without being aware of what's going on with their health. Yeah, they go to the doctor, they listen to their heart, maybe take their weight, take their blood pressure, all that stuff. But like actually taking a detailed look underneath the hood every 3 to 6 months becomes extremely vital as you get older. So you get in your 40s, you get in your 50s and your 60s and beyond, you should be taking full panel blood work at least twice a year. You want to monitor everything that's going on from your hormonal levels to your cholesterol to your vitamins and minerals, so you can make sure that you're topping things off, right? That if there's anything low that's going to start impacting your health, you can be aware of it, right? And you can start taking care of it through supplementation, through HRT, whatever the case may be, whatever your doctor recommends or whatever you decide makes sense for you. It's just knowledge, right? It's awareness, knowing what's going on versus getting caught by surprise, which happens to a lot of guys, right? You probably have friends and family who were like just randomly ran into a health issue, but typically it could have been avoided. You could have just taken a look under the hood every so often and stayed ahead of the game, right? So I totally agree with making sure you do regular testing. There's some things that he recommends that I just want to be upfront here. Like, let's just cut to the chase. At the end of the day, he recommends buying his products that help you get all the vitamins and minerals that your body needs. That's great, right? If you're someone out there who really struggles to eat healthy food because you're busy, you're always on the go, and you just don't have the time to sit down and make healthy food, I would say, hey, your next best bet is to get supplementation, right? To make sure that you're covering your bases. Do I think you need to go crazy and take all the things that Bryan recommends? No, right? Some of the things he recommends that I do like, one of which is glucosamine. This is a great joint health supplement. I actually sell a joint health supplement through our company, True Transformation. And it's been proven. There's many studies to back up the fact that glucosamine can help with joints and the health of your joints as you get older. And once again, Bryan's whole thing is longevity here. If you get hurt, if your joints start to really hurt and you just don't feel 100%, well, that can take you out of the gym, right? That can take you out of your routine. So having some supplementation that supports some of the things that are liable to get hurt as we get older makes a ton of sense. So if you have joint health issues or if you're just feeling sore all the time, glucosamine could be a great supplement. He does recommend DHEA to help maintain hormone levels and support bone density. Here's what I'll say though, and there are some studies around DHEA being somewhat effective, but personally, I think it's like trying to put out a fire with a garden hose. Yeah, if it's a tiny little fire, you might actually help, but if it's a house fire, you need to call in the big guns. If you have hormonal issues, I know Bryan's whole thing is like try to stay natural and who knows if the guy's actually natural or not? Nobody knows except him, and honestly, I don't really care. But he's preaching the natural route, so great. DHEA could help hormonally, but I think you just need to go straight to the big guns if you have severe hormonal issues, right? You need to go see either a holistic doctor or a hormone specialist who can get your hormones where they need to be, either through natural supplementation, way more than DHEA, or actual TRT, right? Hormone replacement therapy or testosterone replacement therapy. Whatever to be the best bet, it's your decision. It's a lifelong commitment, but it can be majorly impactful on your health in a positive way if you have the right people steering